Oh, if you thought our time with Big Greg was done, you were greatly mistaken. We've got a new set of challenges in line for him. It's not the Fellowship of the Ring, yet. Instead, he's going to face off against the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad from Kill Bill. Way better and way more popular, right? Before we dive in, we're going to have some restrictions, because the Deadly Viper Squad aren't using guns or grenades because Big Greg would be big dead. For that reason, we're going to also restrict Gregor by removing his armor. You can keep a shield maybe and a sword, but no heavy plate. With that said, let's get to our first entry and least likely to defeat the Mountain. Here we go, bud, aka Sidewinder, aka Bill's little brother. The man who came closest to stopping the rampaging bride. He would have maybe been an effective gambit if we could include guns, but with those out of play, I just don't think old Bud has been keeping up with his swordplay enough, and from the looks of it, his best days as an assassin are long behind him. I don't think he has much to add in taking down Big Greg as the rest of the squad, so for that reason, he's a distant last place despite being resourceful. Maybe he could get a lucky 1 in 10 chance of taking down the Mountain if given a crossbow or two. Maybe he gets a lucky shot off. Despite being highly resourceful and able to surprise the bride, he lacks the tools for a one-on-one head-on collision fight and would likely be joining O-Ren in the morgue. Next up, Vernita Green, aka Copperhead. Vernita is an interesting one. We know she specializes in close quarters knife fights, and if the fight took place during the night, maybe she could sneak attack the Mountain and take him down. However, in a close-up fight, despite being proficient with knives, I think she lacks the physical skills to match Greg's 8-foot, 400-pound frame. Although she did give Beatrix a good run for her money and was highly regarded for her knife skills, the fact is, getting too close to Greg could be an extremely unwise idea for her. She might be able to cut tendons at various points on Gregor to bring him down, but she would have to be absolutely on point. But considering the real bust up she gets in with the bride, one wrong move and it's lights out for the Copperhead. With all that said, I'd give her a 2 times out of 10 chance to take down the Mountain. Up next, I have Bill. Potentially, Bill could be higher, but I think physically Bill's age has caught up to him. But he's still a danger for the Mountain. His accuracy with a handgun cannot be forgotten. If we translated this to a crossbow, potentially with poison, maybe he could slow down the Mountain. Otherwise, he had something the previous entries did not have. The swordsman abilities in a Hatari Hanzo sword. Yep, that damn sword seems sharper than the finest Valyrian steel blades of Westeros. Just look at how many limbs the bride takes with her at the House of Blue Leaves. Without armor, Gregor's going to lose limbs faster than the Crazy 88 if Bill can close that distance. I view Bill as almost being the Barristan Selmy, an older man who's made it to an age in a field that's hard to get old in. In a deleted scene, Bill faces off with 5 men and dispatches of 4 of them in seconds, using a sneaky dart throw along with slicing 3 of them down in a blink of an eye. Against the head honcho, he does show some close combat skills and does use his opponent's momentum against them to flip them over, but is vulnerable to the old kidney punch and is perhaps not as fast as he once was. He does settle the fight with another sneaky attack, unsheathing his blade at the right moment to cut his opponent's throat, thus ending the fight. Against the Mountain, I actually think he can get it to a 50-50. Bill is a sneaky guy with plenty of experience. If he can avoid Gregor's reach and strength, he might be able to hack off some limbs. Even then, a good whack with Gregor's shield or catching Bill with a long sword, it's lights out for the Snake Charmer. Our next pick, Elle Driver, aka California Mountain Snake. Very similar to Beatrix, possibly physically stronger. Where I think Elle's strength lies is her willingness to fight dirty and use poison. Multiple times we see Elle willing to use poison by either administering it herself or setting a trap with a Black Mamba. For me, this is our O-Ren Martell of the bunch. If she can get in close with a coated blade or a needle and jab Greg a couple of times and keep her distance, it's likely the poison could kick in. Driver did seem very knowledgeable in how much poison is required to take someone down, and that's bad news for Greg. However, she does have one glaring weakness we can't ignore, and that is she only has one eye, which Beatrix exploited in their matchup. Not only is having one eye a disadvantage, but it can also mess with your depth perception, and you are going to need to be absolutely on point with avoiding Gregor's massive fucking sword. One other factor I want to note is that Elle gets into trouble with high risk moves, as shown when she tries to flying kick Beatrix, and another one seems to be the inability to assess her surroundings, as multiple times she's thwarted when she tries to unsheath her sword, either by Beatrix or the surroundings, and against Gregor you can't afford to make many mistakes. Based on the poison and willingness to fight dirty, I have to give the California Mountain Snake a 6 out of 10. Heading over to Tokyo, Japan, we've got O-Ren Ishii, aka Cottonmouth. The head of the Yakuza actually could pose all sorts of problems for Greg. One of the few people to land a blow on Beatrix, she also has some insane reflexes as she almost catches a snooping bride off guard with a shuriken. Now, we might not allow guns for this, but what about her gang of the Crazy 88? Of course, we might have to give Greg some armor in that case, but that would just be an absolute bloodbath on par with the brides. For what it's worth, I think Greg could cut through a fair few of them, but might get caught off guard by Gogo Yubari's meteor hammer, much like the bride was. Gogo almost managed to defeat the bride and was on the edge of victory before the bride's quick thinking ended that fight, not too dissimilar to Greg and Oberyn. However, I think Gogo would give Greg fits. Keeping him at range with a highly unpredictable weapon and without armor to brush off many of the blows, Greg might fall short here. On the flip side, Gogo is unlikely to have dealt with someone with such immense strength as Gregor, and if he catches that chain, well, she's not dog-walking him, that's for sure. Overall, for the batshit insanity, this would be the best fight of the lot, bar one maybe. I personally think O-Ren might give him some trouble, because she manages to take the head of a Yakuza boss with a one-handed swipe of a sword, and this isn't even a Hatari Hanzo sword, just a regular katana blade, so that cannot be scoffed at. With that said, I think a respectable 7 out of 10 for O-Ren Ishii and the Crazy 88. There will be blood in this one though. And that leads us to Beatrix Kiddo, aka the Bride, aka Black Mamba. What Beatrix does to the Crazy 88 at the House of Blue Leaves would have the bards of Westeros singing her songs from dawn to beyond the war, a ridiculous speed of skill, and she does this without an inch of armor on her. Not only does this show her insane reflexes as she fights multiple people at once, but also her durability and quick thinking as she takes down Gogo Yubari. Another highlight is a feat of strength where she stabs one of the higher ups of the 88 and lifts him off the ground before disposing of him. That's not all though. Beatrix has an absolutely insane gas tank and will have no problem outlasting Big Greg. In the space of a day, she goes from eating a couple of rock shells to the chest to punching her way out of a coffin, to walking miles upon miles back to Bud's trailer, to then engage with a fresh and ready Elle Driver whom she defeats. Along with Bill, Beatrix possesses a Hatari Hanzo sword, and even if Greg has tree trunks for limbs, that won't stop Beatrix from collecting them and hanging them upon her wall. As specified earlier that we witnessed this blade cut off limbs with ease, it also manages to break the blades of her opponents without much difficulty. I wouldn't want her to directly parry Big Greg's blade, but she might be able to cut it down to size if needed and limit some of his advantages. And it gets worse for Big Greg. Not only is Beatrix ridiculously skilled and accurate, if she gets close, she could explode his heart with a 5-point palm exploding heart technique. Basically, if the 5'11" assassin was any taller, this would be a complete wash. If Jaime Lannister thought his speed would be enough to take down the mountain, then I have zero doubt that the Bride could also do it. In fact, I'd have to give Greg his armor to even make this a fair fight. Of course, if he got hold of her, she's probably dead. Maybe, because, you know, even a bullet to the head didn't pull her fully out. Basically, the Bride's unorthodox approach, quick thinking and lightning reflexes are huge problems for the Titan of Westeros. I think on a bad day, Beatrix wins this 8 times out of 10, and it's not even close. And I know I said initially we'd use the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad, but for shits and giggles, let's bring this crazy bastard to the table. Pai Mei, the old master was at least 1,000 years old, if it's to be believed, of which the only way to take the guy down was to poison his bloody dinner. When training the Bride, he shows incredible reflexes to dodge her blade, and he doesn't even break a sweat. Now, this might not be a prime Beatrix kiddo, but even then, that's an incredible feat considering she believes her best skills were in sword fighting. To top it off, he even jumps and lands on the blade before kicking Beatrix in the face. Honestly, Pai Mei is going to ruin Gregor's day worse than Oberyn did, and he won't even break a sweat. And that's that. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would love to see us tackle Greg vs Fellowship, let us know. This was just a little bit of fun. I watched Kill Bill in the cinema recently and it just got my mind thinking and I thought, hey, screw it, let's go with this.